we have to hop off, we will.
Good deal.
So summers in Alaska a little bit different than summers where we're at. How's your summer been going, man?
Yeah, and I grew up in Idaho, so I've experienced them both. But yeah, up here it's like the days are so long, but the season is so short. So everybody just wants to pack as much summer in as they can in a super short amount of time. So we're out there on side by sides and fishing and doing all the Alaska stuff all summer. It's like there will be weeks at a time where we're not getting to bed before midnight because it's light until 2 in the morning. So
wow,
it's been a long, short summer.
So does that also mean that you start early? Like you go to bed at midnight, you start your summer day at 7 or 8 in the morning and then go till midnight, or what?
Yeah, it all kind of depends on what you have planned. If it's like just going into a normal work day, you usually start your normal work day at whatever time, 8 or 9. And then you do all this.
Hold on. All the agents out there that just heard that, you start your work day at 8 or maybe 9.
We'll go with 8.
Whatever you do. But yeah, then you do your normal work day, and then after that, it's like you have another full day to go out and play.
All right. What time does your work day end?
I typically try to be done by 5:30 or 6.
Oh, you gave the right answer. Thank you. All right.
Obviously, there's
out there
exceptions to that.
But like moral of the story, in real estate, treat it like a freaking job.
Yeah. Well, for instance, my phone goes on do not disturb at 7 p.m. and then it comes off at 8 a.m.
Wow. All right. There you go.
Well, only if you want to sell 45 homes in the last 12 months, I guess. So you want to put it in the hours, right?
All right. Let's get started. Jay, I'm going to introduce you if that's okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll dig in. So let me silence my phone here. Sorry. All right. Let's get started. Welcome to another amazing episode of the Regen Pod. Today, we're taking you up north to the land of moose, mountains, and mega producers. We're joined with Jay Bruzas from Wasilla, Alaska. And in the last 12 months, Jay closed 45 units and $20 million in volume, mostly through the power of relationships. He closes most of his business through Sphere and past clients. So you're not only a top agent, you're a father of 6, a gym regular, a church leader who's been adventuring through Alaska since 2008. And you're living proof that you can be a high performance business leader and have a high impact life. So Jay, first of all, man, let's dive in. Tell us a little bit about you and your origin, what got you into real estate, and how you became a powerhouse producer on a real estate team.
Yeah, man. Well, like I said, I grew up in Idaho. I grew up a few hours north of Boise in Grangeville. And okay. I grew up on a little small cattle ranch up there. And so part of that was just hard work all the time, right? Like ran a cattle ranch, also had a full-time job all through my teens. And then my dad was also disabled. And so he was a quadriplegic. And so taking care of him, there was just a culture of hard work all the time, not a lot of downtime. So moved up to Alaska when I was 20 and got into construction and did that for a few years, and then fell into a job at a tire shop. And that was kind of the turning point. I was looking around at all these broken, kind of bitter people in this world of the tire shop. And I was like, man, that cannot be my future. I've got to do something different. So at the time I had, my wife and I had been married for 5 years and we had 2 kids. And so my brother-in-law, Blake, had joined RMG about a year prior to that. And we were talking one day and he said, man, I know you've expressed interest in this before. I think you really should get into it. And so jumped in with both feet. And it was a little bit scary, going from the trades into business. I had no business doing this. When I got my real estate license, I didn't even know what a mortgage was. And I just had no business being in this world. And I had so many good leaders and so many good teachers and relationships. And God was really gracious to me through that time too. And just.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2014. So 11 years.
Got it.
Okay. So let's hit the pause button and back up to something you said, which was you really had no business being in it.
Yeah.
And it was because you knew nothing about quote unquote real estate, mortgages, buying a house, selling a house, all of that.
Business in general.
Yeah. Business in general. So, it's interesting that you say you had no business being in it because, when I step back and I look at the qualities of a real estate agent, the best quality a real estate agent can have is work ethic, is grit, is determination. And then everything else beyond that can be taught.
Yeah.
So, if you were talking to you now, would you say you have no business being in this business, or is it a different perspective now if you were talking to someone who was thinking about getting into it?
Totally different perspective now. And the main reason is because it's less about houses than it is about people. And when I got into this business, I thought it was going to be all about selling people houses, and it's really not. It's all about finding out or figuring out what people need and then helping them get it. So it's way less about selling. It's way more of like a concierge service than anything else.
Okay. So when you say helping people get it, like, are you saying like even outside of purchasing real estate?
Yeah, I would say so. One of my favorite things to do in this industry is to connect people, right? If somebody has a need, they need their shop built or they need their house painted, I want them to come to me and I will hook them up with one of my trusted partners, because when you do that, now I've given my contractor partner a piece of business and I've given my client someone who can take care of their need. And now I'm more valuable to both of those people because of that introduction.
I want to talk about the evolution of you, but like, I think this is a really important thing that we could double click on, which is like connecting people.
Yeah.
How is it that you build this this list of people and get in relationship with, but then also how do you teach people to treat you as the source of information?
I just tell them to.
Okay.
I tell people I love to do this and I want you to use me as a resource. That's part of like my mission statement is to be a resource to the people I love. So it's something that I've kind of built my life around.
So just for clarity, when you're, becoming a resource from someone, it's one thing to be a mouthpiece and say, I want to be a resource. I think we hear a lot of agents do that. What do you think is the difference between you saying I'm going to be a resource and then someone like you actually being a resource? Give us some examples. Like this happened, so I did this. Give us some examples.
It does come back to building relationships. So something I tell new people all the time on our team is one of the best ways to build a good life in tandem with a good business is to do things you like to do with people that you want to be around. And when you do that, you'll live a great life and business will just show up.
Sure.
You spend your time doing things that you actually enjoy doing with people that you really want to be around. It's a good life.
Walk me through that a little bit more in depth. Like, what do you mean doing the things you like around people you like? Like, how does that translate into being a resource for people and selling real estate?
Well, when you spend time around people, you build relationships, right? Especially when you're doing things. And maybe this is more of a man thing than a woman thing, but I enjoy building relationships by doing things with my friends. I would rather go on a four-wheeler ride with somebody than sit in a coffee shop and talk, right? And so if I'm gonna do life, I want to go find out the things that I like to do. And one of those things might be going to the gym. One of those things might be important is attending church. One of those things might be riding side by sides. But whatever it is, I'm going to invite other people into that. So one example of that is there's something I do every single month, or try to do it every month, that I call Night of Man. And I invite a bunch of dudes over to either my house or a buddy's house, and we spend several hours cooking steaks and smoking cigars and talking about important things in life. And usually it's really good conversation because the quality of people that we invite to this is pretty high. And so we're not talking about beer and girls. We're talking about life and leadership and being a father, being a husband, what it means to grow your business, like all of those things. That's the topic of conversation that we focus on. And when we do that, we're gathered around a campfire and we have all these different conversations going on. You can't help but grow in closeness to these people. And so the people that I typically invite are business owners, or they're self-employed people. They're people who take their life seriously and they're on purpose getting better at life. And we're doing that together. We're growing those relationships together. So then those people become my referral partners in the world of business and construction and whatever other services people need.
So I'm hearing a level of intentionality. In other words, you're intentionally identifying people that you want to be in relationship with, but then intentionally setting up times to connect and build a relationship with those people, to genuinely have a relationship.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. But how can you genuinely have a relationship with people and also tell them that you sell real estate and not feel like you're only in relationship with them because of real estate?
Yeah.
Does that question make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
So part of it for me is that it's not in their face. It's just assumptive. Like, of course Jay sells real estate. He's not shouting it from the rooftops all the time, but I know he sells real estate because we have a relationship and I know things about his life. So I'm not out there constantly asking people, who do you know who needs to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Instead, I'm asking people, hey, how are you? How's your life going? What can I be doing to enrich your life?
Okay.
Sending those people business. So it's always coming from contribution. And if you plant enough seeds, you're going to get a harvest. But for me, the emphasis is always on planting the seeds. It's not on getting the harvest.
So last question for me, and then Chase, if you have a follow-up, that all sounds great. And I agree with you 100%. And what do you have in place so people do know you sell real estate? You say it's assumptive, but is there some kind of messaging that's going out to people? Is there some kind of social media presence? What is out there where people are like, absolutely, Jay's the real estate guy? So when you're in relationship with them, it's Jay's the real estate guy that I can get this answer to or from, or get this connection from. Like, how do you interlace your real estate business with your personal relationships to build a business?
Yeah. Good question. So again, comes back to that assumptive thing, right? Like, of course, Jay's in real estate. So when I make a social media post, it's never, hey guys, I'm in real estate. Who do you know who needs help? It's always just, how do I say this? It's like, I'll put a buyer need on social media.
Okay.
Hey, I'm looking for this, right? It's just a given that, of course, I'm in real estate. Of course, this is part of what I'm going to be asking for. Same thing with personal interactions. When I see a house listed in somebody's neighborhood, I'm always going to send them a copy of the listing. Hey, new house just popped up in your neighborhood. Wanted to make sure you have a copy of the listing. There's not an ask there. It's just contribution. And that's a habit that I've built.
That's the bullseye I was looking for. Is what are you doing to manufacture these real estate touches without having to always be like, who do you know?
Yep.
Chase, you have any follow-up questions on that?
No, I think it's awesome, man. Clearly you're planting seeds. I mean, what I'm hearing is maybe a little bit different than you, is like he's planting seeds and having deep relationships with people, whether they buy or sell real estate. It's like not relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? And really, me being in real estate isn't relevant. If I owned a tire shop or a telecommunications business or whatever, I'd be doing all the same stuff.
Got it.
I'd be living a life full of people. Even before I got into real estate, I was pretty involved with my church. And so because of that, when I first got into real estate, several of my early deals were people from my church because we had a relationship and they were like, oh,
sure,
I know you're in real estate now.
I guess the only other follow-up I had, Brent, was I must have lost my man night. What is it called? Night of Man. I never got my Night of Man invite. So I'll be looking for that.
You know what this reminds me of, though, and I think this is really crucial right now in the age of AI and the evolution of AI and technology is, Gary Keller said that, basically the what he summed up out of this study, where basically 88% of people wanted to work directly with someone because they wanted the comfort of the relationship. And so I think to sum this whole thing up is anybody who's worried or concerned that AI might replace them or some tech company might come in and replace them. People want comfort and want relationships over a systematized, easy process. They want both, but I think the relationship supersedes or overrides it. Jay?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Gary saying something one time that the way to beat the machine is to be more human than the machine can ever be. And so for me, like I'm not super involved in AI. I'm going to spend that time leaning into real relationships face to face with people in person.
Love it.
People love to be treated like a person, not a number.
Yeah, and actually, here's what I'd say to that, Jay, is I think you actually have the luxury of having that perspective because you're on a team that is thinking about leveraging AI to become more impactful, more effective and efficient,
Yeah.
to enhance the relationships that you have.
That's
so
true.
it's not really a thought that you have to necessarily take on or take the burden. But I think the moral of that story is I think every agent either should be aligned with a company that has an AI focus, because being AI enabled and being the human side of it is going to be what accelerates people's businesses in the future, or you need to do it yourself. You need to go out and do it yourself. So you have an amazing luxury of being able to plug into something, and you just focus on the relationships, which is what sounds like you're the best at.
Well, and just to touch on that, that's one of the reasons I'm with this team, is because this particular team allows me to go and do the thing that I'm good at, which is people. And everything that I'm bad at is taken care of by someone else who's good at it and likes to do it.
Yeah, that is the power of a team. I hope if you're listening out there right now as an agent and you're like, I'm on my own and I'm happy because I keep all my commission. At some point when you start to sell homes like Jay has, selling 40 or 50 a year, you are going to need help. Like you can't maintain that pace of selling if you don't actually have leverage. So you can either hire that leverage yourself, or you can plug into someone who's already done it at a very high level.
Well, and we all have things that we specialize in, and the more doubled down you can be in the thing that you're good at, the better your business will evolve.
Yeah. Yeah. And just touching on the team aspect of it, it's not, being on a team isn't the best fit for everybody, but I think it's really important how you view it. So for me, the way I view it is that I have hired the team to help me be better at business. And a lot of people look at it the opposite way and they say, oh, I got hired by a team. No. You're the one out there whose job is to convert that business.
Yep.
And you're paying the team a portion of every dollar that you earn to help you do what you're good at. So make sure that you're holding those dollars accountable and make sure that it's a win-win. But
that's exactly right.
That is a phenomenal perspective. I've never heard it presented that way, and that's such a good way to look at it. That's interesting.
All right, you guys ready to get to some news in real estate here?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay, so I'll tee you guys up a little bit with what's in the headlines for real estate right now, and then I'm going to pose a question, and either one of you can weigh in. So here's the first article. Essentially, building permits just hit a cycle low, falling to 5.7% year over year, while multifamily starts are up. Single family remains weak and construction jobs are slipping. Permits are a leading indicator, and falling numbers could be flashing a recession signal unless mortgage rates drop closer to 6%. So my question for you guys is, how much weight do you think we should put on permits as a recession signal compared to other housing indicators like the amount of homes sold or, pricing, et cetera?
Well, I'll jump in first. I think you should. I think it's a lead measure. So like the difference between a lead measure is something that you can look at and future cast. A lag measure is like, hey, it's happened and this is technically the result. And so I think it is a lead measure. And really, as an agent, why is that important for you to look at or understand in your market? Obviously, this is a macro conversation. You're talking about overall permits nationally. And so understanding and knowing your micro market permits and polls will also be a great lead indicator for you. I do think it is a possible recession flag because, it's going to limit the amount of sales that happen. It's also because again, this is just my opinion. If we're limited on sales, but we're also limited on inventory and rates are high, there's like this perfect storm of price protection, which isn't a bad thing for sellers, but also there's not this recalibration effect that buyers are hoping for. They're hoping for prices to come down and become more affordable. So, it's an interesting dynamic that we're dealing with as it pertains to how many homes we actually need, because we're behind the 8 ball quite a bit because we didn't build enough from 2010 to 2018 or 19. And so my take is, yes, it's a red flag for to track a recession. I believe that we're actually already in a real estate recession. And the good news is if you're in real estate now and you're thriving or you're successful, then I don't think this is something to worry about. But it is a way for you to update your clients and keep them in the know of what to expect in the future.
You got anything, Jay?
Yeah, I've got two thoughts. Number one is if you're in real estate and you're not into real estate investing and owning rentals, you're missing the boat. No matter what happens in the market, people have to live somewhere. So if the sales market is booming, you can make money on sales, but if it's not, you should be making money on rentals.
Okay.
Second thing is, when I look at national headlines, I always have to compare it to my local market, and whatever the national headlines say are usually wrong for my market. So right now my market is booming. There's more new builds going in than ever before. And that is going to continue to be the case here locally, unless we have something ridiculous happen, like nuclear holocaust. But where I am here, our market is very different than whatever the national headlines say. And I constantly have to get in front of people and remind them of that, because the big,
I think that's a good, that's a good point. You do need to be speaking local. So whatever the headlines say, definitely compare it to your local market, no matter where you're at. Here's my 2 cents, then we'll go on to the next article. My 2 cents is, this is kind of nerdy. And what I mean by that is, if building permits are down, it's not necessarily because builders don't want to build. It might be because developers aren't developing, because builders need land and lots to build on. And if there is no land or lots to build on, then building permits will go down. And the reason why developers might not develop is because it's such a long picture, right? It's such a long horizon. Like if they pick a piece of land today, depending on the market, it could be 3 to 5 years down the road.
Yep.
So go back 3 years ago, what was happening? Rates were going up, a lot of fear. I mean, it's only natural, I think, that permits would be down right now. So
and just to kind of double down on what you said, like you have to go local. Here's the thing: your consumer, your relationships, your friends, your family, everybody, they're seeing the national headline. That's what they're seeing. So the better you can be versed on your local market and then convey what the reality is for them in their market, the better positioned you are as the expert in real estate that they want to turn to.
Okay. All right. Well, going on to our second headline, a little interesting. I'm going to start with you, Brent. This is an interesting one because it kind of contradicts exactly what we were just talking about. So Warren Buffett just invested over $1 billion in which, in the grand scheme, he's got 500 billion or something like that to invest. I think he's got 500 billion cash, actually. So it's not that big of a deal for him, but it's $1 billion. It's real money into Lennar and D.R. Horton. These are the top builders, at a time when builder sentiment's at multi-year lows. So it's a classic Buffett move, buying when others are fearful, signaling long-term confidence in large integrated home builders with strong moats. So my question for you is, why do you think he's betting on large builders when confidence in housing is so low? Tee us off, Brent.
Well, large builders, they have scale, they have financing. A lot of them have land, and they actually have the ability to buy land at a loss. to keep the volume and keep it moving. So that's point number one. But like, why do I think Warren Buffett is investing in large builders? Warren Buffett is a contrarian investor. And what I mean by that is obviously he sees a future uptick when sentiment is low. He sees that there's a potential for a future uptick. And in this case, I think that's what he's betting on. He's betting on the fact that these large builders are positioning themselves to scale once interest rates hit the sweet spot. And so everything I'm reading in regards to buyer sentiment and the pent-up demand, the sweet spot is when rates get to 6%. Not 3, not 4, not 5, but when mortgage interest rates stabilize to 6%, you're going to see more buyer movement. And I think the large scale builders will be able to move and act faster to serve that demand. And I think Warren sees that.
Got anything to add, Jay?
No, I nailed it.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Well, then let's go to the last one. So this is Inside Real Estate's Home Search AI. So Inside Real Estate launched Home Search Artificial Intelligence, a natural language MLS search that lets buyers, type "Show me homes under 600K with granite counters near coffee shops." It combines AI search, CRM intelligence, and automation, boosting lead engagement 5 to 10x for early adopters. So I am coming to you, Jay. You don't get off the hook this one. First of all, do you use AI? And do a lot of your buyers use AI right now that you're aware of, buyers or sellers? And then the second question is, how do you think this impacts our business?
I don't use it much, but yeah, a lot of my buyers do. And it's always fun when they say, "Hey, we asked Grok how much we should offer on this house." Like, that's a real conversation that we have. So what was the second part of that question, Chase?
Well, the second part is like, first of all, you just answered it technically, because you're like, hey, my clients are actually using Grok to say that, what should I offer on this house? So are clients using it? And do you think a search like this, instead of going to Zillow and like clicking filters and boxes and maps, they just say like, find me a home near this school with this many beds and baths, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and it just pops everything up? How do you think that changes the game?
I think that's a good thing in general, but one thing that the AI can't do is find homes that aren't even on the market yet, and I can, and I do, and so I still have a leg up on AI.
That boy.
Well, here's the thing. I think you're always going to have a leg up on it, because you're bringing the human to the you're being more human than the machine, just like Gary said.
Yeah.
But this will actually enhance the experience. So I think as front-facing agent websites, so Boomtown, Sierra Interactive, Brivity, I know for a fact that they're going to adopt this style of search.
Yep.
Meaning, consumer gets on and they just tell the AI what it is they're looking for, and then it'll serve up listings based on a score. Like, hey, based on everything you said, this one's a 10 out of 10. This one's a 10 out of 10. This is a 9 out of 10. This is an 8 out of 10. And these are all 7 out of 10s. So it'll serve it up that way is my thought process. But really what it boils down to is consumer experience. Yeah. So with natural language processing, it removes friction, and you're able to continually fine tune using the way you talk versus using a user interface that's, you got to go back to it. You got to drop it down. You got to reset your filter. You got to reset your search. Like, that's a pain in the neck that creates friction. So that's point number one. Point number two is I think that that's going to translate to the back end, and it's going to give agents better insights as to who is most likely to buy based on the natural language that they're currently putting in. So the other way was static. Everybody sounds the same on the front end. The new way will be nuanced. So everybody's going to sound different on the front end. And so I think AI eventually will be able to predict, based on the language they're using, who's more likely to buy sooner than later. And then that will help give agents an upper hand to target and get into communication with people that are actually closer to moving?
I'll tell you, Jay, from a search perspective, how do you find homes for your clients right now? What do you do?
Well, a lot
Aside
of times,
from off market, on market stuff, how are you searching?
yeah, I mean, we use Bold Trails. We used to use Boomtown for a long time, and we moved over to Bold Trails.
Okay.
So like setting up searches for people on that is the most common way.
Okay. So here's what I predict for you. And I actually think there's going to be agents who are very, very good. They, in the AI world, when you're using AI, they call it prompt engineering. It's just a fancy term for saying asking good questions.
Yeah.
Agents who are helping buyers sell homes, and even agents who are listing homes, are going to be really good at asking questions and writing great prompts. And I would say within the next 12 months, it's going to be the fastest and easiest way to find homes.
Yeah.
And even in Alaska, they're going to adopt it. I promise you.
Yeah. I'm not worried about that. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. It'll make it easy. And I think you can literally, like right now, I was driving into work today and I was asking a question about a certain piece of technology, but I was talking to ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine driving to work and you're like, hey, I got a client. They're looking for at least 5 acres, but it has to be in the county and they have to have sewer and water, but they want it within 1 mile of city services because eventually they want to develop. Like, you're literally asking all this stuff. And if the at some point, maybe not today, but it won't be long, that technology will be able to go all those nuanced things. You can't find that in the program you're using. I can't find that in the MLS. Like, it takes me looking individually at each property to weed them out. I can't search it. That's going to change.
Yeah, because AI will be able to, in seconds, look at all of that data and scrape all of that data and give you results in the snap of a finger. Like, it's definitely going to make agents operate at a higher level. And here's the thing, like, the question is will AI force or drive consumers away from agents? So there's a company called Ridley. His tag call sign is "I hate realtors," or no, realtors hate me. Sorry, realtors hate me on Instagram and TikTok. If you're a real estate agent and you want to laugh,
follow him.
You want to laugh and get triggered, and then also realize that he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Go listen to some of his stuff. But his whole pitch is that AI will be able to do all of the functions and all of the job from search to offer writing to negotiations to scheduling the photos and open house and all of that kind of stuff. There are so many nuances to the business, and then there's also so many nuances to the personality types of each individual buyer and seller, interested party, semi-interested party, tire kicker down the road. There's so many nuances that AI is going to be best served in the hands of an AI-enabled real estate agent than an AI trying to replace this function. And so I think as an agent, we need to latch on to these AI technologies that are coming up and leverage them, become integrated with them, because the faster you can do that, the less likely it will be for some, fake startup to try to use AI to disrupt you or your business. It's the moat that you can build. Let's put it that way.
I do have to point out that since I grew up on a cattle ranch, every time I hear AI, I think artificial insemination, and I can't help it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, just the last thing that I think you'd want to be aware of right now is, like, adoption it's very gradually, and then it's suddenly. Like, you're going to look around and everyone's going to be using this. So my encouragement to you, Jay, is, like, get out in front of what your people are going to be using. Yeah, do everything you can to put yourself in a situation where you're the expert teaching them how to use it instead of the other way around. So, and that goes for anyone listening to this, is just be on the cutting edge of this. So, Okay, that's all I got for news, my man. I know. What do we got next, Brent?
It's my favorite part. It's my hot takes. It's my I'm calling agents out with my hot takes. And really what I mean by that is I'm going to say that the hot take of that I think fits a stereotypical average agent potentially, or a stereotypical type situation in real estate. And I want to hear your guys' opinion on it. What do you guys think? So the first one, my personal opinion is, if you, or my personal hot take on this is, if your database doesn't know you're in real estate, you don't have a business, you have a secret. When I say that, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, business is something that is that can be passed off to someone else. It's systems and processes, right? That don't depend on one person.
Yep.
So if your business depends completely on you, then yeah, there's a lot of truth to what you just said.
Well, and I would just say, if you're out there thinking like, oh, I just want to be a relationship with my people and I don't want them to feel like I'm selling them something. Telling people you're in real estate is not selling them something. It's what you do. And in fact, I would argue, Brent, that most people are calling people in their database only because they're in real estate. That's the only reason they're calling them. They would never call these people if they weren't in real estate. And then they don't talk about real estate. So like, let's be genuine. I'm only calling you, Jay, because I'm a real estate professional. I can definitely build rapport and talk about your kids and night of man. And I'm also going to bring up real estate. So yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a hot take. I think it's like an obvious miss for people. So maybe it's a hot take for them, but not.
Well, and I think Jay, to point out to Jay's logic and what he was saying earlier, is he just I think naturally he offers up real estate value with no expectation in return. Like, hey, this house just was listed in your neighborhood. Thought I'd share it with you. Like, that's his passive way of telling people he's in real estate. That way, when he's calling and saying, hey, how are the kids? How's it going? Whatever. It doesn't seem disingenuous, because they're, it's a combination of the two.
Yeah. And to be clear on that, when I am calling somebody about business, I do the business part of the conversation first. If I call somebody, I don't want to talk to them about real estate, I'm going to jump right into that conversation. As soon as that conversation's wrapped up, then I can say, hey, how's everybody doing? How are your kids? So I don't lead into some weird conversation where they're going, well, okay, what's he getting at? It's like, no, just eat the frog, ask the business question first, then go into the relationship part.
One of the best pieces of advice that someone gave me to be a genuine agent and realistic when you're calling someone is, when you call them, the very first thing you say is, hey, I'm at the office and I have a item of business I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
That's it. Hey, I'm at the office. I have an item of business I want to talk to you about. Do you have a second? So going in that way, they're imagining you now, you're in your office, you're there to talk business. And then you politely ask, do you have a sec? They're always going to say yes, but that just opens up the permission to be able to say, hey, I know, like, 6 months ago, you said you might be interested in doing a real estate review. We haven't met yet. Wondering if we can just get that on the calendar. I'd love to dig in and talk about real estate needs, and also what your investment strategy might be in the future for real estate, blah, 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 down the line. So then, like, to your point, Jay, then it's like, by the way, man, how are the kids? How's everything going? So I think the challenge that agents have is they're scared to have that conversation, or fear of rejection, or fear of what people might think of them. Like, oh, I'm harassing them about business. They're not going to want to answer my call. And so they just don't. And so if you haven't talked to someone for like 6 months and you call them and you're like, hey, how's it going? How are your kids? Well, it's going to kind of feel weird, because they like don't have a deep rooted relationship with you, other than the fact that you sell real estate and you stay in touch with them. So unless it's your night of man people, of course, that's a little bit different, but.
Yeah. I put a deal in contract yesterday with a client who this will be my 4th transaction with him. And I've helped his mom buy a place. I've helped his wife's parents buy a couple places. So like, there's a family relationship there too. But when I sent him the congratulations, you're officially in contract to buy your next home text, he responded just saying, thanks for being a kick-ass friend who sells real estate.
I love that.
We've done a lot of stuff together over the years. And so just having that depth of a relationship is really rewarding.
Yeah. What an awesome kind of homage to how you do your business that they replied like that. That's awesome. Sweet. All right. Next one. Chase, you're going to love this one, dude. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Your buyer appointment ghosted you because you didn't make them feel obligated.
Oh, interesting.
Walk me through what that means to you, Chase.
Well, I mean, I think some agents are out there and they're pretty good at setting up appointments. I know quite a few, and someone might be listening to this, so I'm not calling you out, but I kind of am. And you know it, but there's a handful of agents I've dealt with this. Like over my real estate career, I've seen this happen a ton. So here's what happens: they're great at getting appointments, and then their no-show rate goes really high. And like I said, I've seen this happen a lot. Sometimes people are agreeing to meet with you just to get off the phone. And unfortunately, that's just a reality. So here's two things that I think happen. One, you're avoiding objections. So you're like, hey, Jay, how's it going? You want to meet? And you don't ask him the tough questions like, have you met with a lender? Do you have an agent? You know, how soon
motivation?
Yeah. How soon you want to be in there? Blah, blah, blah. What's important about that? You're not asking those questions. So you're avoiding these objections because you don't know how to handle them. And then you hang up after you get the appointment. And then the person goes and tells their spouse or their friend, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to go buy a house. And the person's like, have you even met with a lender? You're not going to qualify. And then you're not there to handle the objection. So then they just ghost you. So there's that one side. The flip side is, which I think you might be referencing a little bit, is manufacturing touches. Like, how are you adding value and getting more and more time between the second you get off the phone to the second that appointment comes? So if I set an appointment with Jay, I get off the phone. I'm like, hey, I'm super excited about our appointment tomorrow. Between now and then, here's that thing I promised I'd send you and our buyer guide. And then later in the afternoon, I'll be like, hey, do you have any questions on that buyer guide? And then the next morning, hey, I saw a couple homes. Can't wait to show them to you when we meet today. Like, you're doing it. It might be stuff you already do. You're just not communicating it. And the more you communicate, the more that you're investing in them, the more they feel vested in you, the higher the likelihood that appointment goes.
Yeah. It comes back to that assumptive attitude, right? Like, of course we're going to get together because of course that's the next thing that's going to happen. Of course we're going to work together. Of course you're going to sign this paperwork. Of course, like, that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to talk to my lender.
Yeah. The psychology behind it is, again, I think we're talking in the context of like a new lead, right? Like maybe not a warm referral or a relationship, but like a new lead. You get a new lead, you have a conversation with them. You're confusing their interest with commitment, right? They're like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in buying a house. Great. When do you want to meet? You schedule that appointment, and then you're hoping that it's going to happen. Well, the psychology is people who feel obligated, invested with someone, they don't want to go through that process again. So like, for instance, if you do a good consultation, initial interview with them over the phone, they're going to tell you all the reasons. You're going to go through the motivation. You're going to figure out that they are truly going to buy, and then you set the appointment. Well, they're not going to want to go through that process with somebody else. Like, they're like, I already did it. If you've ever been on like a customer service call and then you tell someone what your problem you're having, and they're like, great, let me transfer you to my manager. And then you have to re-explain it again. That is a pain in the neck, and everybody hates doing it. Same thing. Then you layer it with the manufactured follow-ups. What that does is it now shows them that you have invested time and energy into them and their interests and what they're trying to accomplish in order to prepare for the meeting. So they're, number one, way higher show up rate, and number two, way higher sign rate, because of they don't want to repeat the process and they feel obligated to the time that you put into the transaction. So, or into the initial process.
Yeah. Or you could even twist that from obligation to loyalty, right? So they see that you have actually given them something, and you've given them some value, and they're like, that guy's not trying to sell me. He's trying to help me.
Dude, that is such a great reframe. Loyalty.
But I think there's something that everyone needs to understand here. Okay. It's reality after they get off the phone with you. Okay. There's only so many things we can talk about in life, like weather, kids, football, whatever. Like, if you're buying a home, you're excited about it, and you're going to tell most people in your world that you're excited about it. So when I get off that phone call, after I set that appointment up, I'm going to go tell my friend, like, hey, I'm buying a house. And I'm going to tell my boss, and I'm going to tell my, mom and dad or whatever. Every one of those people knows a realtor.
10 realtors.
Yeah, they know a realtor, and they're like, oh my God, Jay, you have to use my agent Brent. He's amazing. And you're like, you're going to hear that 5 times. So you have to build a moat around your client, and loyalty and obligation and invested time and sunk cost fallacy, which essentially means that person's invested time in you. They don't want to lose that time invested in you because they're going to go work with another agent. It's just easier to work with you.
Yep. Jay.
Go ahead, Jay. Round us out.
A couple things on that. So one thing is set the appointment for as soon as possible.
Yep.
The less time between the time you set the appointment and when you go on it, the less time there is for that sort of thing to happen. Secondly is, qualify that person as well as possible prior to the appointment so that they do actually show up and they do actually sign. They are a valid buyer. You're not wasting your time on someone who's a waste of time. You guys are familiar with the LP Mama script.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Super, super valuable as a conversation template. And then the third thing is,
tell everyone what it is, because you brought it up. Now you have to say what it is.
Okay. So LP Mama, LPMAMA, location, price, mortgage, agent, motivation, and appointment. So location is just a really easy way to start a conversation with anyone that's looking at homes. Hey, where do you want to buy a house? Then you go into price. What price point are you looking in? What price range are you looking in? I don't usually say what's your budget. And then M, mortgage. This is sometimes it's easy to assume that somebody's using a loan, but don't do that. Instead say, hey, when you buy a home, are you going to be using cash or using a loan to buy a home?
Everyone always feels good, like, I'm not going to use cash on this one.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the first A is for agent. Ask them, are they working with a realtor already? Have you committed to working with a realtor already? Right? Make sure you have that conversation before you sit down with somebody. Motivation. Talk to them about what it is that's causing them to move. What is it that's causing you to want to look for a new home? And you can ask that in a way that's not aggressive or put people on their guard. And then the last one is appointment. Hey, based on everything we just talked about, seems like the next logical step would be that we get together and meet. Something that I say often is I say, hey, I'm kind of old fashioned, but when I work with somebody, I really like to meet them face to face. I like to be able to look each other in the eye and shake hands and just see if we're going to like each other. And that tends to put people at ease and go, okay, yeah, this is a real life person that cares about me.
I love it.
Okay. So those are the first 2 points. The last one that I wanted to make was sometimes it's okay for an agent or for a potential buyer to go work with somebody else. In our area, at least, there's a lot of great agents in this area, and I want to see the good ones do well. And so if they are talking to a couple other agents and one of them is somebody that I genuinely like and respect, I'm gonna talk that person up a little bit. They say, hey, I'm talking to Tyson Kroon or Stephanie Gamble, and be like, yep, they are awesome. You should definitely talk with them. After you've talked with all 3 of us, let me know which route you want to go, but you can't go wrong. There's nothing wrong with saying that. There's enough business to go around, and I think we need to hold things loosely.
Yeah.
Well, you build trust. You build a ton of trust when you do that.
That's a trust frame. Yep. Morality frame. Love it. All right. So we're officially 6 minutes over, dude. That time went fast. That was such a good, valuable run on all of the information. Jay, thank you so much for your time. Loved getting to know you and your business and all of your valuable insights. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jay.
Also, we didn't mention, don't hang up. Don't hang up.